A common theme among comments here on the channel in the past couple of months have been typically along the lines of something like this. I can't believe you're still playing this game in the state that it's in today. How the hell are you dealing with that? I left after insert change here in the past 2-ish years, and so forth and so on. I still can't believe that you're playing the game in the state that it's in today. And I thought, well, what state is the game really in 2024? And I thought, well, let's see what's going on in 2024 in World of Warships and how wargaming's been behaving in the direction that the game seems to be going in at the moment, at least, right? And, well, what is essentially halfway through 2024 at this point. And why do we still play this game, those of us that, play the game, which I'm assuming is a sizable chunk of the audience, right? So that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. And you know what? We're going to start out on a positive note and discuss the good stuff that's happened thus far in 2024. So in general, well, first off, most recent update 13.3 is a pretty excellent update. It is coming to an end here, but we got the Wisconsin in the dockyard, which the dockyard in and of itself, removing the Wisconsin from the mix, the dockyard is one of the best events in the game, in my opinion, right now. It's essentially a free battle pass where you can get quite a bit of stuff for free without even completing the dockyard by simply playing the game. In most cases, you can earn roughly over half of the stages of the dockyard just by playing the game, for 2 hours every day. And you get, containers, premium time, free XP, depending upon, whatever's going on in the dockyard, but it's generally some quite generous rewards, right? And then with the Wisconsin dockyard, they went and they put what was, one of the most hotly anticipated ships in the game, especially for the North American server, in the dockyard, where you can get it for a fraction of the cost of what it would normally cost if they released it in the Armory or in the premium shop. And you got West Virginia 44 on top of that. And speaking of West Virginia 44, if you had West Virginia 44, you can still get the Wisconsin completely for free, which is amazing in my opinion, right? A free tier 10 reward ship. That's pretty good. So despite the Wisconsin being the dockyard has been refined into an excellent event in my mind. And then again, when they put the Wisconsin in it, which is a huge up in my book for, wargaming's behavior in 2024. And if you look at some of the changes that we've gotten to the game so far in 2024, and the changes that are announced, or they are at least working on, Wargaming does certainly seem to be listening to the community a lot more than they have in previous years. Just look at the changes to submarines. First off, they're still changing submarines. They haven't just dumped them on us and have said, oh, well, this is what they're like now, deal with it. They have been receiving constant changes, in many cases nerfs, yes, a couple of buffs to offset a little bit of the nerfs here and there, but I don't think there's many that would argue that after the last bout of changes to submarines, they have been receiving Wargaming's favor in any way, shape, or form. I mean, we got the hydrophone effect that now extends in the direction that the submarine is traveling in, so when you go to drop your ASW bombs on the submarine, you are dropping those depth charges much more accurately now because you know what direction they're heading in, and you get an idea of their speed as well. And two, the 3-kilometer torpedo arming distance, again, I don't think there's many that would say that wasn't a nerf to the submarines. Like that is just objectively a big nerf to submarines that pretty much all but removed shotgunning as we knew it, right? Where the submarine pops up 2 kilometers away from you and then dumps their entire front torpedo tubes into the side of your ship. These are two huge changes that are just two of the many changes that have been coming to submarines in the past few months, and there's still more on the way. Speaking of things that the players have been begging for, we're finally getting some major changes to CVs that are addressing huge, major issues like CV spotting. If the upcoming CV changes are any indication, Wargaming is finally saying, well, you know what? Maybe the whole perma-spotting ability of CVs is a little bit much, and we need to do something about that. They're at least acknowledging that by removing the ability for CVs to perma-spot for their teams. Now, I don't think those changes are going to come through as is on paper right now. I do believe there's going to be quite a few changes to these changes, but they are at least trying to do something about it now, beyond just saying, oh yeah, we're looking at it, which is the response we've gotten from Wargaming in the past about CVs and spotting. And two, with those CV changes, they're also trying to address the feeling of AA doing nothing, which in my opinion is due to the fact that, well, CVs, the way they work now, you have a squadron that attacks and you have your planes in reserve. You dive on the enemy ship, you have 5 planes in your attacking squadron, your AA shoots down 4 of those 5 planes, but then they just get replaced by planes from your reserve squadrons, and it feels like your AA has done nothing. Well, now, once you send those planes down to attack, that's it. They won't get replenished anymore with these proposed changes that are moving forward to the testing phase. Not the public testing phase, but the closed testing phase, right? It's no longer just a concept. They're moving forward with these changes. So just right there, with the submarines and the CVs, Wargaming is listening more, and they're actually acting upon what we're saying for the most part, as far as we can see, right? And speaking of them listening more, asymmetric battles. Asymmetric battles, if you go all the way back to their introduction, they were never meant to be a recurring thing. It was a mode that was designed just to test out the new bot AI, but turns out players loved it so much that Wargaming has continued to reintroduce it every few updates as a temporary battle mode. And last time it was only out for 3 weeks of the update. This time in 13.3, Wargaming allowed it to stay for the entire duration of the update. And not only that, you can complete dockyard missions in asymmetrics, which further makes the Wisconsin dockyard pretty darn easy to get. I think you can get, 5 of the stages done just by playing the dockyard. By 5 of the stages, I mean 5 of the mission stages, right? Not like 5 stages of the dockyard. 5 of the mission chains, you can get them done just by playing asymmetrics in 13.3, which is pretty nice, again, for a tier 10 ship. But anyway, yeah, asymmetrics, they've been consistently returning, and Wargaming said that they will return them in the future as long as players do enjoy the mode. Now, I don't really think it's going to be added in as a permanent battle type, but hey, we'll take it where we can get it. Also, too, I don't know if you've been reading the dev blogs here recently, but the quality of the dev blogs has been improved massively. If you read the dev blogs, it sounds like they actually have someone to translate it from, the various languages. The English versions have become so much better, and this is from someone that, some of my more popular videos are me just sitting here reading through the dev blog, right? And in the past, we have had some rough translations. And I know I'm from the southern United States, and I can't spike all that well, but, trust me, not all the flubs that I say when reading devblog articles are just me being a dumb southerner. The translations have been quite rough in the past, but now they are much better and much more coherent, and they're also coming out at a pretty regular tick. And they've done a good job of keeping us informed with what's cooking behind the scenes. So far, just off of that, things are looking pretty good, on that aspect at least. Now, the negative sides. Well, like many a company, Wargaming does very much seem to be pushing pretty hard into the FOMO elements, fear of missing out. I mean, with the Wishing Wharf event, the ultimate reward, or whatever they called it, was literally a premium ship that's a copy of another premium ship, but has a different camo on it. And it's the Supreme Reward. I think that's how they called it, which was the Chakuma 2 Golden, which is literally the Chakuma, but with a shiny golden camo on it. And if you wanted to get it, it was like, a 1 in 500 guaranteed drop. You had to get through 500 phases of just throwing your doubloons into the Wishing Wharf before you could get the Chakuma 2 Golden for sure, which is an absurd amount of doubloons, right? It's just ridiculous with some of the stuff that they've been doing here recently. And the early access events, some of them have been better than others, but it's still like trying to separate you from your doubloons in order to get early access to these tech line ships that'll be coming out in, 2 updates anyway, like the Kitakami event where they say, oh, it's not going to be out for 2 years after, this super crazy event where you have to throw all of your in-game resources at the event to try and get the Kitakami. So stuff like that is becoming a little bit too common for my taste, and I understand that, World of Warships is hardly the only game that gets events like this now, and apparently it's way worse in World of Tanks, and the World of Warships devs have apparently been pretty restrained in this aspect compared to the World of Tanks devs. But, I like that this is, one of the few games that doesn't feel like it's gone full on mobile with its monetization, but any bit that creeps in here, I just don't like that at all. And of course, you could very much argue that if you're one of those players that, submarines don't belong in the game and CVs don't belong in the game, but they're still here. But like CVs have been in the game since the beginning, so I never really understood that argument. But the submarine argument I get is a much more, legit argument, as they weren't in the game to start off, but they're here now. So you could very much say that them continuing to allow them to exist is a negative, as plenty of comments do say, right? But they are here now. They've been here essentially for like 2-3 years, and they aren't going anywhere. But they haven't really been adding too many more of them into the game. I mean, we haven't gotten a new submarine line in, well, ever, right? So they haven't been shoving them down our throats just yet, but I'm sure we'll get there pretty soon. So those are my main negatives about the game, or negatives that get brought up from time to time. And I know someone's probably going to say, like, broken ships, overpowered ships. We haven't really had an outright cracked ship in some time, which I'm very glad about. The Louisiana was a little goofy when it was allowed in clan battles with its super tiny bomb reticle, but they did nerf that pretty fast. I gotta give that to them. They have been fast to correct these overtuned ships when they do get released now. So you could throw that in there, but it's a hell of a lot better than it used to be back in the day, where it took them like, I think, 2 full patch cycles to nerf the Conqueror. For some reason, it took them that long to realize the battleship with the submerged citadel, the super heal with the 11.2 kilometer detect, but the god tier HE was a little bit too strong, right? So they have been more fast about correcting those mistakes. The other thing too is that there's still simply nothing quite like World of Warships on the market. You might say War Thunder Naval, but like War Thunder Naval is not what you think it is. Taking War Thunder's more realistic mechanics and applying it to a World of Warships type mode where you have, all these ships, but it's at a more realistic scale and such, leads to a very boring 40-minute game. And I mean, if you play War Thunder Naval, you'd be surprised just by how many bots are in that game, which is really funny because you have all these commenters that'll state like, oh, look how few players are still playing World of Warships. Like, yeah, but like most of the modes I play in, they're full of real players, right? Like Random Battle is still full of living human beings in the North American server. I can get on, up to like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still playing 12v12 real players at tier 8, tier 9, and tier 10. But like I could go hop on War Thunder Naval at 5 in the evening on a Friday night or on the weekend, and most of those guys are bots because War Thunder Naval is just kind of a miserable 20-30 minutes match because shooting at a ship from 15 kilometers away on a real 15 kilometer scale with more realistic mechanics isn't really that fun. And that's the only really competitor to World of Warships, and it's not really a competitor to World of Warships either. And if you think planes are bad in World of Warships, you can be taken out by a single bomb from a plane in War Thunder Naval because that's just how War Thunder mechanics work. So long story short, there still just isn't a game out there that matches the casual arcadey side of the game where you have these historical ships, you're commanding them in battle, and a relatively balanced, fun, arcadey setting, right? I'm not saying the game is, completely balanced. There are issues, right? But, it wouldn't be any fun if you really could just nuke a DD out of existence with, 2 shells from the Yami, right? They found the right balance between real life inspiration and what makes a game fun. And again, still, there's just nothing on the market that comes really close to doing that in my mind. They just have a formula here that works. And like I said, thankfully, it does seem like we're off to a pretty good start in 2024. So we'll see how that continues throughout the year. Again, we're about halfway through the year at this point. Well, let me know what you guys think about the state of the game so far in 2024. You think we're having a pretty good year so far? Do you think we're in for some rough waters ahead? Just again, let me know what you think about the game in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday and wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.